w sprzęcie dla najlepszych. Wejdź na groundgame.com.
Hey, Ryan, Will here from the Fight Gods podcast. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. I just had a quick question for you. It seems like Bellator threw in a couple of guys that you had lost to in the past. Is this basically the Ryan Bader revenge tour?
Yeah, I mean, when they first filled out the bracket and I looked at it, I'm like, man, this is great for me because it's all about redemption for me, And then, first fight out of the gate, Machido, guy that knocked me out in 2012. That's always one I wanted to get back, And so not only that, you have two guys on the other side that I lost to, one recently. And so, it'd be that much sweeter to not only get those wins back, but to do it in a Grand Prix tournament.
Definitely. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jay Anderson.
Ryan, welcome back. One of the things that I think of is you're one of the few people in the sport who has won a Grand Prix already, and that's regardless of promotion. I mean, it's not a common thing. What would being one of the few people to win a second tournament really kind of mean to your legacy?
Yeah, I mean, that would be huge. It's something that I don't know anybody has really done that, Granted, there's not a lot of Grand Prix, but I had so much fun in that heavyweight Grand Prix that when they asked me, if I would join this Grand Prix, I said yes, for sure right away because I love the format. It brings a lot of eyeballs, and I have the opportunity to do something nobody has really ever done. It's, becoming a two-division champ once again and winning 2 Grand Prix.
Dylan.
Hey there, Ryan. How's it going?
Good. You?
I'm doing well, thanks. I was just wondering because just with this being a rematch, it seemed like the first time out there was a dynamic whereby Lyoto's range-minded style maybe frustrated you to a degree, and there was the rushing in kind of dynamic. Yeah. Do you think there's going to be that championship composure this time around, and is that going to be the biggest difference in the rematch?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing on my feet back then. I could hit hard. I didn't even have a jab, and so, for me, going against one of the better strikers at that time, it was one of those things where I was just, out of my league. And I didn't try for one takedown. I didn't threaten him with certain things, So it's a totally different fight now. That was lifetimes ago for me. I've grown since then. I became a champion, 2-division champion, fought, everybody in MMA. And have that experience, And so for me, yeah, I have to pressure him, but I do it patiently. I got to pick my times and I've worked a lot of karate with a lot of karate coaches. I know what he's looking for, what I need to do to negate that, And so I'm feeling really good coming in this rematch.
Yeah, and just with the backdrop of that prior Grand Prix question, because I spoke with Demetrius Johnson recently, and he said his Grand Prix title was the, crown jewel of his career. How do you weight the Grand Prix championship you have versus some of the lineal titles you captured? Like, do you compartmentalize them in any kind of way?
Yeah, no, I agree with Johnson. Mine was really special because it was a chance to become a 2-division champion and the heavyweight champion and the Grand Prix champion. So when I won that, there was those 3 things on the plate. A 2-division champion, Grand Prix champion, and heavyweight champion, and I got to do it by beating Fedor. So it was extra sweet. But I loved the style of it. I loved knowing who I was going to fight, who I was going to potentially fight, when and where I was going to fight. Whereas if you just have a title fight, you fight and then who knows who's next, who knows when you're going to fight again. It could be 3 months. It could be a year later, so I love, the planning aspect of being in a Grand Prix.
Maria.
Hi, Ryan. Maria Morales with the Throwing Bows podcast. Thank you so much for the time today. I want to go back to something that you said earlier about the fact that the first time you guys fought, you really didn't know what you were doing, so to speak. You really, really strong, hit really hard, didn't have a jab, etc. And so obviously over this past almost decade, you've evolved. I'm sure that Lyoto has also evolved. And so can you talk me through maybe some of the things that you've seen in his evolution that you are either concerned about or you feel will actually favor you in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, the concerns are always, it's what he's always had. And that's, he's tricky, he's got speed, good timing, and that a lot of that comes with the karate. On the flip side, I feel like, he is getting a little older, slowing down a little bit and doesn't want to be in those tough fights like he was in the past, and going in there and really mixing it up with people. You see flashes of that, quite a bit still. He's very, very tough, very talented. So he's always going to be tricky. He's always going to be fast. He's always going to be agile, elusive. But I feel like I've grown so much and I have the ability to go out there and neutralize that and really bring that fight to him and put him in a fight where he really doesn't want to be in.
Mm-hmm. And with that, let's say you go on and you actually win the tournament, becoming two-time champ, two-time tournament winner. There's a lot of the champs going around in different promotions, with some being very active, defending both belts, and some not so much. If you are put in that position, what is your desire to defend both belts?
As much as possible. I've been trying to, but this whole thing with COVID and everything like that really put a damper on that. And that's what conversation with Scott Coker was, let's be active. Let's have 3-4 fights a year, but uncertainty stuff comes up, some variables were thrown in, and we're just doing what we're doing right now. I was thinking I was going to be, fighting for the heavyweight belt in March. But then this tournament came up and then them going to Showtime and all that kind of stuff. So I'm willing and able to, so it's just kind of, we'll see what happens.
Tony?
Hi, Ryan. Hope you're well. We're seeing a lot of crossover with former MMA fighters, current MMA fighters moving into the boxing world. And with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua now booked, how closely are you keeping your eyes on that fight? And is a move to boxing of any interest to you in the future?
Yeah, I've been, I don't follow boxing too much. I've watched those guys, and definitely a fan. I don't know. I have a lot of things I feel like I have left to do in mixed martial arts. And so haven't really thought about that too much, man. I would love to do a little crossover or something at some point, but it'd have to make sense, and I come from a wrestling background, I believe I can box, but that's a whole different world, and so everything would have to line up. But I have a lot more to do here. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Abraham?
Hey, Ryan, thank you for your time. Abraham from the Fightly Report. I was wondering, how have you evolved? Obviously, you've evolved in skills, but how have you evolved mentally, especially coming off a loss in your last outing? Yeah,
if you look at my record, if you go through that, you see that every time I take a loss, I go on a great winning streak. I come back even better. And I haven't dwelled on losses, and yeah, it sucks. And a couple of days you'll feel bad. But you just fix it. You go in there and work on what you need to work on. And that might be mentally too, but for me, it's not beating myself down or anything like that. It's really building myself up and telling myself, just go have fun. There's one of my last losses I remember, it was Anthony Johnson. I didn't stick to the game plan, went out there, took a bad shot, fight ended. And after that fight, I said, you know what? It's all about having fun. That's when you fight the best. You go out there, you're loose and everything. And then, after that loss, I went on a huge run, so it's one of those things. I think I've lost twice since 2013, so take it, own up to it and figure it out and come back better.
Steven?
Hey, Ryan. So Ariel, Pitbull was just on Ariel's show talking about the idea of cross promotion. He obviously had this great showing and kind of showed the world how great he is once again. You've been on both sides of the fence, promotion wise, and you've seen how the business works. What sort of a percentage would you give about something like that happening?
Zero, pretty much. It's one of those things like everybody likes to talk about. We do too. We feel like we have the best light heavyweight division in the world here. And I just don't think with UFC and Bellator that there ever be any cross promotion stuff willingly. It'll be guys fighting their contract out and going vice versa. But you're not in the near future. It's fun to think about, fun to talk about. How does this guy match up with this guy? Who's really the best in the world? But I really don't see it happening anytime soon.
What does that say about the sport to you at large?
It's a business at the end of the day. Different organizations are a business and they have their, TV deals and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to protect that business, and so at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It's not about the sport. Really, it's about the individual business and the sport within that business.
And have you taken a look at the rankings that they just released? And if so, what are your thoughts on them?
I mean, I saw some just on social media and whatnot. Thought they were pretty good, and it's good to kind of look down and see who's, who everybody thinks is, top 10, top 5 in your weight class, because obviously I'm in heavyweight and light heavyweight. So it was cool to see some of those heavyweights that I haven't really had my eye on too much yet. So yeah, it's good to see.
All right, we'll take a couple more here. Giancarlo.
Thanks. Hi, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Before your last fight, you've been competing at heavyweight for a while, going to that Grand Prix and defending the title. Even though you lost your last fight, do you think that helps you coming into this Grand Prix, knowing that you have at least a fight at light heavyweight under your belt before coming into this?
Yeah, for sure. When your body isn't, consistently, my body didn't get under probably 225 really for, years and years, and then to all of a sudden, hey, we're going down to 205. It was a little bit of a shock, and so for me to be able to go down and make that weight, this time around, it's been so much easier on my body, mentality and everything like that. I'm sitting pretty right now weight wise, and I feel full of energy and feel ready to go. And so that's a huge difference for sure.
Thanks, man. All the best on Friday.
I appreciate it.
Last one here, Dylan.
Yeah, much has been made earlier about the rematch coming up here and the potential rematches for you in this tournament. But we also have another rematch in this tournament field with Nemkov Davis too, going down for the light heavyweight world championship. You're familiar with both of those guys. So what are your thoughts on how the story of that fight, like how it's going to unfurl?
I've said this before, but I think, Phil Davis is definitely a dark horse in this tournament and definitely on that side. I feel like he can go out there and beat anybody in any given fight. He has a weird style. His wrestling's obviously great. A lot of power in his legs and his stamina is good. And if you watch the last fight, it was a 3-round fight, and he had Nemkov exhausted at the end, so I wouldn't be surprised if Phil goes out there and beats him, to be honest.
All right, Ryan, thanks for the time and good luck on Friday.
Thank you guys.